strike is worth a 1.5. How are we supposed to stay alive? Strike on the U.N.M.
In November 1995, AFSCME hospital workers and workers represented by the Teamsters at the University of Minnesota nearly went on strike. After the union's members voted strike authorizations, last-minute bargaining, including management concessions, averted the walkouts. But negotiations with the clerical and technical employees, dragging on since February, were still not resolved as of December 8, 1995. What brought the university community to this impasse?
We have called this rally because 7,000 university workers are now negotiating contracts with the University of Minnesota's administration. The university must create change that respects people, not just budgets. Our union contracts stand to create an environment for everyone at the University of Minnesota where people will be treated fairly and respectfully.
A lot of these proposals are common sense proposals which serve to protect employees, but they're being denied by management. The AFSCME administration refuses to treat workers at this university with respect and dignity.
In contract negotiations, if out of the process of negotiating a contract and during that process, individual employees involved in the collective bargaining process, or even those on the sidelines, are getting certain pieces of information that lead them to believe they're not being respected, then that is of concern to us. That's not what we're trying to impart. But I'm also not saying, I don't know how you bargain hard over issues without having people interpret that the way they want to through their own filters, okay? I can only go so far with taking care of them, and beyond that, they have to make some judgments about whether they think the process itself is disrespectful.
Administrators have gotten in the last couple of years 8, 9, 10% pay increases. Some of them have gotten multiple pay increases, and that's just a slap in the face to the organized workers here. Obviously, this institution has the money, has the ability to pay, and it's an issue of priorities. They are not making us a priority, and it's time that happens.
It's a misnomer to presume if you pick one thing around here to do that there's not money to do it. That argument, if somebody were to try to make that argument, including us, that's a ridiculous argument. It's a question of where you want to spend your money. And there's one other piece. A lot of building expenses are one-time dollar appropriations, so you're back to this business if you took that kind of money and tried to spend it on salaries, even assuming you could do that legislatively, from a legislative mandate standpoint, they would be one-time payments again.
Individuals at the U make $80,000 or more every year. 80 of the 756 were hired between 1993 and 1994. This represents more than a 10% increase in top-level salaries. Enormous amounts of money are spent at the top level, while the rest of us are working here are being asked to take pay freezes or are receiving very small pay increases. Also, up to 175 layoffs have been proposed for this spring in the medical school. There are people struggling to make ends meet who are working here while jobs have been created that pay big money.
University civil service workers have had no increases in their base pay in 2 of the last 5 years. After rejecting administration proposals of base increases as low as 0.5%, Teamster employees settled for base raises of 1 to 2%, plus lump sums of another 1%. AFSCME hospital workers reached a similar agreement. Yet management has proposed increases of half or less this amount to clerical and technical workers.
We have seen an explosion of top administrative positions and salaries in recent years. President AFSCME has received 17% in wage increases over the last 2 years. This $26,000 raise is more than most of our members make in an entire year. For other top administrators, we see the same. Yet, those who can least afford it are being asked to bear the burden for financial mismanagement at the university.
Nils Hassmel makes a lot of money by anybody's standard, but is he paid appropriately vis-a-vis other university public college presidents? That's the test of the market. And I don't know whether the market's right or wrong about that, or whether we as a society ought to endorse or not endorse that, but that is a fact of life, and that's the environment we work in.
Faculty and students administer exams twice a year and give appropriate instructions to students taking exams when faculty are gone on business. For faculty on leave, vacation, or business travel, I handle items requiring immediate attention, such as professor-specific instructions prior to departure, forward appropriate items, and handle messages and questions from other faculty, staff, students, and others. I also have additional responsibilities, but stopped here because of time limitations. I have 2 children, 11 and 12, and am a single parent. My salary is $20,000 a year. I have been at the University of Minnesota since 1978, which is 16 years. I am 1 paycheck away from being homeless. The cumulative salaries of the 7 professors that I work for at the law school is $1 million, including their chair appointments. I have tried for a reclassification to principal secretary, which is 1 step above what I am now, and the assistant dean worked with human resources to whittle it down to the level that I am at now. It was denied. Some job duties were taken away from me to allow this to happen so that I could not get a promotion and make additional salary.
When we approach the negotiations, there is the approach that the employer is going to take is a little different for those classifications that we feel we got a market problem with, that is that they're overpaid. These have tended to be classifications that are in the blue-collar area, not in the white-collar area. And we don't have a lot of problems, but we've had some problems. And we've tried to, over the years, even through the process of negotiations in the past, but also in these current negotiations, look at our salaries in relationship to those salaries as paid by other employers. The issue of the state of Minnesota we're probably going to get into, and that's certainly one employer that we're interested in, but we're not exclusively interested in just their salaries. We want to look to other private and public employers in this metropolitan area primarily for salary data related to the classifications.
But the big issues that it's going to take to make this a decent place to work, we're having a tremendous struggle with the university and with central administration on those issues. You currently can work here for 20 years, get a layoff notice, come back into another department and start at the bottom. Those are the kinds of things that we're trying to tackle. We still have lots and lots of people who work 2 and 3 jobs who don't make enough money to buy basic necessities. So the salary issues are very real for us.
The administration of Governor Carlson faced a financial situation that was no worse than the universities, and they were able to negotiate out a settlement with their unions. We are not aware that anyone has accused the Carlson administration of being overly friendly with public employee unions. Our members will accept no less than what AFSCME Council 6 has already negotiated with the state of Minnesota for 20,000 workers. 2.5% increases across the board each year of the agreement. We will not allow 20 years of pattern bargaining with the state to be broken. Yeah. This university should be a model for the rest of the state as a decent employer. But the Hassmel administration has chosen to emulate the worst aspects of corporate America in the 90s. Right.
We personally have had so many rounds of layoffs around here over the last 3 to 5 years that we were not interested where we don't have the dollars. We were trying to avoid the notion of another round of layoffs.
We've seen their budgets. We've seen the budget the regions passed, which has $61 million in it for pay increases. They certainly don't need all of that to fund what we're asking for. We've seen the hospital budget figures and all the public data on what the hospital is in fact making for a profit. They can pay this. There's no doubt in our minds.
Stand down. Don't give up the fight. Administration, they tell me what a day's labor is worth. But I know they don't know we can move heaven and earth.
Every 2 years we carry on this fight from square one, and it always happens to be a major battle. We feel each time that we have to wrestle with all the issues. We have to rally our forces. We have to get out here and show our strength in order to make our point. Of course, we get very tired with having to conduct ourselves in this way and having to always put ourselves in the faces of management and administration. But we are willing to do it because we feel it's very important.
Stand up for your rights. Get up, stand up.
But I hear rumblings on this
Don't
campus.
give up the fight.
I hear rumblings that our members are prepared to do whatever it's going to take this time to get a good contract. And by standing together, proud to be Teamsters, proud to be AFSCME, proud to be University Union standing together, that's exactly what we're going to do. Thank you.
In contract negotiations, management wants to turn the clock backwards, to take away the hard-won protections that we have long fought for. But we are not going backwards, we are going forwards. This is a very important time at this institution. We are engaged in a struggle over the very nature of this university. Will this be a university where disrespect to workers is tolerated or even encouraged? Or will this be a university where workers are treated fairly and problems are solved? Will this be an elitist institution devoted to serving a narrow corporate interest? Or will it be a university that is open to the sons and daughters of working people? Will the AFSCME administration continue to place more value on high-buck administrators? Or will we finally see a university where frontline workers are valued for the work that we all do?
On February 20th, 1991, 3,200 clerical workers at the University of Minnesota cast an historic vote, electing AFSCME, the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, to represent them in collective bargaining. After a year of tough negotiations, the union signed a contract with the university on May 14th, 1992.
Hi. Hi.
Hi.
How are you guys? Pretty good. How are you doing? Fine. I wanted you to meet Kathy.
Yeah, hi.
This is Kathy Kleckner, Sandy,
Sandy?
and Shirley.
Shirley, nice to meet you.
Kathy is chair of the organizing committee, so she needs to literally know everybody in every
3,000 of us?
Of the U, and she's also a steward of it in the medical area.
I work in the eye clinic.
71 cents makes a grown woman holler. They give you a degree, it's a paycheck they steal.
Where previous organizing drives had failed, AFSCME succeeded in building a union through a distinctive approach. They focused first on building a community among workers, rather than organizing simply to win an election. Almost no literature was used. Instead, organizers met one-on-one with employees. And the focus was not on specific issues. The union was presented as a voice for workers to empower themselves.
We organize based on the belief that change is made through relationships and not in isolation. And we are here today, university-wide, from Duluth, from 1919, from St. Paul, from the West Bank. We are here, once again, breaking through that isolation. We are here today to make sure that important and even seemingly small decisions are not made in isolation.
One of the things that's really concerned me is that I don't feel like we've been part of the women community. You know, I think there's been a separation between well, there's still that hierarchy even amongst women, and you know, I think we're really good at breaking down those barriers.
Well, and it was clear that they see us as being very important to be able to do that. One of the things that I constantly talk to central administration or anybody that will listen about is the fact that there are good situations within the university, and what we need to do is go and look at why those work. Rather than hiring outside consultants to fix it,
I can tell you.
popularize why,
Well, I can tell you why they work. They work if the individual person running it has got agency and allows individuals underneath them to have agency.
So yeah, any list updates and then sure, you know what to do from there.
Yeah.
So and then just in case you ran out of time here.
I know who she is. She's from Bellevue, Minnesota, a town 15 miles from my hometown. And I think my mother has some relatives, one of her cousins.
3 years ago, hardly any of these people knew each other. And we started out working together as a whole bunch of university employees to create an organization of employees for employees to get all of these things that we never really knew that everybody else was thinking about at the same time. And we're here. The clericals did it. They have a contract, and now it's the tech's turn. We'd like to start this card drive out by having the techs come up and put your cards into the fishbowl, and we'll get this card drive on a roll.
Having organized the clericals, AFSCME is now organizing to give technical and professional staff the protection of a union contract.
There is a common theme, I think, that is involved in this struggle to get a collective bargaining agreement. Whether it's American Linen in Hibbing, or the Normandy Hotel in Minneapolis, or the University of Minnesota, the time is now. Thank you very much.
The technicals actually were the group that started pushing to have AFSCME on campus, almost 4 years ago now. So there was interest a long time ago with the technical group, and we basically went back to those people who had helped in the clerical organizing, the technicals who had helped in the clerical organizing, and they basically started up making their own organization after the clericals won.
With lab techs in particular, a group that Jerry and I have been working with a lot in the medical area, there's just a lot of anxiety to overcome to help lab techs feel like a union is something that is in their interest. They're in a position where they're working really closely with an investigator, their boss.
The management part of it is very difficult for the lab techs, as Steve has said, because there's a tendency not to have any background in management, and therefore that's not there in the workplace along with the temporary situation. It is rather intimidating to a person that they can be, let go in a moment's notice.
The nature of the times that we find ourselves in, the lack of funding for a lot of programs at the university, the issues associated with dollars and retrenchment, puts employees in a situation where the environment is changing enough that they may feel they need more protection than they've seen in the past, and for that reason they may have occasion to join a union.
On your side, together we'll all stand unified. We got the whole union on our side. Hey, 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 hey. We got the AFSCME family on your side. We got the whole union.
People overcame their fear and had the courage to talk to one another. And we have a strong organization because of this. We found out that we all have the same wants and needs. We need to be compensated and have respect for the work we do. Standing together, we can get administration to listen to us. They're listening to the clerical employees. The first year they got a contract, they have a contract now, and they're getting another one. They are listening. The technicals have a chance to make a difference now, too. We vote next week for union representation. All of you, please wear your buttons and talk to your co-workers. Tell them to vote yes for technicals. We want to make our voice heard, so let's get on with it. Vote yes.
And I don't want to be an administrator. I don't want to run the university. I want to be able to have input to the business of the university because I am, my heart is there with the university. I like my job. I like the product of the job, which is customer satisfaction, i.e. the students. I think areas that the union, organizing with the union will help are validation of the voice, of my voice.
The plus side of it from our perspective is that you tend to now have more of a concentrated voice representing those employees. It's easier to go to a single source and talk to them about issues and have them use the powers of their representation to talk to and to discuss issues back with the employee group. There's fewer individuals that you may have to address on an individual basis because you have the power of the union representing that group of employees. So from a communication standpoint, it makes some things a little easier for us in the long run.
So instead of an us and them thing, I see the union helping us come together more.
Coming from the university and working as an employee here and knowing the situation, what it's like to be an employee here and how frustrating it can be and how much talent is wasted by not having an organization where employees are actually involved in, that there's got to be something better for employees, there's got to be something better for people at the university than what exists now.
Achieving something better, a union to represent themselves, took the technical workers countless one-on-one and small group meetings, building mutual trust and a collective vision from many personal visions. The next step toward securing university recognition was getting enough individuals to sign cards saying they wanted AFSCME to represent them. On March 19, 1993, AFSCME set the official process rolling by submitting to the Bureau of Mediation Services cards from 518 of the 1,200 technical unit employees asking for an election. Now the clock was ticking.
This is an exciting time for AFSCME. We are gearing up for an election that has been long in the making, when 1,200 employees at the U will cast their ballots and vote to form their union. From UMHC to Crookston, from St. Paul to the West Bank, every day countless meetings take place all across campus. Whether to deal with long pent-up problems in an office or stand up to management's demands and negotiations, these meetings share a common denominator. Employees are making their voices heard. But with growth comes challenges.
In the weeks leading up to the election, union activists waged an intensive campaign to win the uncommitted and be sure supporters voted. They built on what had always been the central strength of the organizing: personal involvement and creativity. Their approaches were as varied and unique as the individuals involved.
Probably one of the philosophies that we have with the organizing, or with just the union, is that it's got to be a place that you can have fun. It is, I mean, you're dealing with serious issues all the time, and I think we need to have fun too in this place. A lot of the people who have the creative sort of energy to rewrite words to some of the labor songs and some other songs too, it sort of personalizes the experience here at the university.
They have wasted many millions that taxpayers toil to earn. Cut departments, close the campus, how are students supposed to learn? But we can work together, put the heart back in the youth, for the union makes us strong. Solidarity forever.
The music, it's a kick, it's maybe a standard background, but it's personal to the university, it's personal to the group. It's a statement more attuned to them instead of just the lofty sayings, and that makes all the difference in the world.
Yeah, it's real timely too, just to hear those sorts of things and be able to sing it, themselves too as they're standing
Just sing
there.
along, yeah.
It gives I think there's a real sense of power and just fun that comes from that.
Let's clap hands.
The idea for the puppets really grew. There just hasn't been much education about labor in the mainstream press, and so we saw this as a way to bring that in a little bit more. We picked the puppets specifically for that, I think. Rosie the Riveter was one that we knew had to be there. She's sort of the patron saint of the clerical local. And we decided Mother Jones also had to be in there. We had her in old clothes. It's something about that visually, that there's this long history of people struggling for justice I think is really kind of liberating. So it was sort of an education, like, hey, this is who we are. We're going to be part of this long, really illustrious history.
One of the things that we have focused on very strongly in the campaign is to make it the text. It's the whole emphasis of the campaign is that this is not an outside entity that is going to be running or guiding this local. It's going to be theirs. The signature poster, I think, was just a fantastic idea of actually suppressing behind it a picture in the front of Northrop. So we just tried to just make sure that everybody was involved, connected, and could, somehow relate to anything that we have done with the campaign. But there's all kinds of talent out there. All you got to do is ask.
Yeah, it's really funny how people's eyes light up and they get really involved when there's something creative going on like that. Oh, the count is, waiting for the count is, yeah, it's 1 week away, and it is really stressful. Like Jerry said too, everything looks really good. I think for myself, I'd prepared for a really close election, and it may still be, but things look really good so far. And it's hard to make that jump. I keep thinking, well, gee, maybe there's something that we haven't thought about.
I guess the most difficult thing is that 2 years of work is hinging on this one day.
Won by more than the sealed one.
We won, yeah, we won.
All we needed was 421.
We got 490.
Boy, I think it's divided by too early for champagne.
No.
Too early for champagne.
Thank you.
At least we have somebody we can contact if we feel we have a problem.
Yep.
And that makes it different, because if the engineers were bugging me, now I say, I'm going to call the union. And pretty soon they lay off. And we didn't have that option before. And that makes a big, fat difference.
Gonna shake, rattle, and roll. Shake, rattle, and roll. Shake, rattle, and roll. Shake, rattle, and roll. Gonna shake, rattle, and roll this union on.